good, everybody? Brant here with CPC Bodybuilding, the best channel in men's classic physique. Got my good friend Jared Keys here to preview this week's Legion Pro in men's classic physique. Jared, it's great to have you on, man.
Man, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah. So I've had Jared on for a few of these previews. Jared is like the OG of, covering classic with me. Jared's a good friend of mine, like I mentioned, and, really excited to have Jared on, just talk Legion Pro because this lineup is crazy, guys. We got the Olympia here in 2.5 weeks, and these guys are fighting for a spot at the 2025 Mr. Olympia. We got plenty of guys who are going to be going into the 2024 Olympia. They're looking to stamp their ticket to next year's Olympia. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into the Legion Pro, which is going to be this upcoming Saturday, September 28th. But before we get to the lineup, guys, make sure you guys find Jared here on Instagram. It is Jared Keys Bodybuilding. Jared, just so the people can find you and support you as best as possible, what are your current business endeavors with coaching, sponsorships that you have? Feel free to just give any shout outs, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. I actually do coaching and posing and everything like that, guys. That is the Key Strength Conditioning, which you guys can see right there on that page. Shout out to my sponsors, Amazing Muscle, Chula Fitness, Evolve Telemed, and Get Freaky Eats if you're local to the 757 area, here in Virginia, Virginia Beach area, Hampton Roads. But yeah, guys, I'm glad to be back. Honestly, really, really glad to be back covering these things, man. The sport's grown so much since the first preview. So this is going to be a very, very exciting show. I think what people always love to say is it's going to be a sack show. This is going to be a pretty sack show. We've got Olympians and we've got some hungry underdogs here at this show. So let's get into it.
Yes, sir. So make sure you guys go follow Jared here on Instagram. He's also on YouTube too. I'll be sure to put his Instagram as well as his YouTube in the description of this. Make sure you guys go support him, follow him on Instagram, subscribe to his channel. Just run it up, guys. So we're going to jump into the lineup. We got Legion Pro, like I said, in Reno, Nevada in the United States. So this is September 28th, Saturday. So I do believe Center Podium is going to be streaming this show if you guys want to watch it. So I'll also put that in the description too. It's going to be pretty high quality live stream. They always do a great job. So here's our lineup. We've got Hamza Al-Kordi, Abdullah Al-Sarafi, Jason Alter Perry, Dwayne Carlisle, Michael DeBoule, Antoine Hamlet, Jorge Herrera, Daniel Hughes, Tommy Johnson, Eduardo Caik, Chris Miller, Larry Moon, Anthony Narciso, Andy Paredes, Emmanuel Rigotti, Capelli Robbins, Dominic Semenza, Darren Sherbaev, Gerard Toribio Perez, Jamie Toyas, and Kellen Wilson. So, like Jared said, stacked lineup, legitimately stacked lineup. We have, if I am not mistaken, off the top of my head, I think 6 of these guys are already qualified for this year's Olympia, and I think 7 of them have been to the Olympia at some point in their careers. So this is going to be a pretty crazy show, guys. Our first competitor that we'll start out with is Abdullah Al-Sarafi. So he is out of Kuwait, arguably Kuwait's best bodybuilder in terms of guys who are actually from Kuwait. I know Michael DeBoule is also in the show. It lists him as Kuwait on the lineup card. He's Syrian though, but Abdullah is actually from Kuwait, and he won the Sharu Classic this past year to qualify for the Olympia, so we will see him there. These are his most recent updates. These are from a week ago, which would be a week out, a week and a half roughly out from Legion, and 4 weeks out from the Olympia this year. So Jared, we got a front double, we got a side chest here. What are you seeing here with Abdullah, man?
Abdullah, man, this guy looks very, very good. Abdullah's very, very good, very complete. Nothing really stands out as missing in these 2 shots whatsoever. Big full lats from the front that are matched with very full quads that are cross-striated. Great conditioning that we see here with Al-Sarafi. I guess hard to critique such a great physique because he's so good. The only thing I would say is I think he'd be more dangerous if he's able to bring out a little bit more in the side chest. But that's in my personal opinion being a little nitpicky. Besides that, he's going to be very very hard to beat in my opinion.
Yeah, he's really good, really complete, like you said. The hamstring, that's the first thing that sticks out to me too, man. It's like, that's a really good shot. Great density through the chest, the delts, the arms. I do think because his quads are so good, the hamstrings could probably come up to match that. I will say the one thing that I'm a little suspect on is I'm not seeing any back double biceps in like any of his Instagram shots, which is always a terrible sign, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
I'm sure he'll find those, but like that's probably his weakest shot if I had to guess, just because
yeah.
he's not.
I would
But
assume that
nevertheless,
just how strong these two shots are.
yeah, he's superb, man. You don't get to the Olympia on accident, and this guy was like clearly the winner at this Shrew show that he won earlier this year, like by far the winner. So he'll be a contender here, absolutely. Our next competitor is one of the best athletes in classic physique right now, probably one of the most winningest bodybuilders alive, regardless of division. Won the Titan Grand Prix last week, and he's already qualified for the 2025 Olympia. Apparently, the IFBB approved it. So, weird thing with the show last week, you could either qualify for this year's Olympia or next year's. It was a weird technicality. But DeBoule won it, going to the Olympia next year. Jared, what makes Michael DeBoule so good?
Man, it's hard to say like what that what's lacking from his physique you can really even say. First things first, he's known for his conditioning. He's known as the Saharan Eagle. He's dry. He's vascular. He's got very clear muscle separation in every shot that every single shot that you see him in. So with those things alone, it's already going to put him in a different category of elite athletes who are able to bring out that level of detail. And I think that also, in order to bring out that level of detail, you have to have a level of development and muscle mass. So I still have to say that Michael DeBoule is easily a top five, top 10. I won't get ahead of myself and say a top five athlete in the world, but he is definitely a top 10 athlete, definitively a top 10 athlete because of these qualities that he has. Uh, in any lineup, he's automatically, in any lineup, we're talking, any lineup, he's already a threat, at the highest level. So this guy, he's just so complete. It's hard to, like I said, it's hard to even point out where he can be better. Some people I've noticed, say that he could maybe have a little bit more traditional posing, or maybe try to find a way to pose a little bit more traditionally to classic physique, kind of how people pose in classic physique. But nonetheless, I like having a unique style in my own posing. So I still had to say that, if he could improve anything, maybe it would be his posing a good bit to maybe make that next step up for him. And then other than that, for him, it's more of, what do I need to do to beat, the top three guys or the top four guys in the world. When it comes down to that, that's a whole different level.
Yeah, this guy is really damn good, and he very well could win another one here, the Legion Pro. I think he's definitely without it goes without saying he's the favorite here too, man. Like a lot of
It's like,
people are already just saying it's his show. So
well,
what?
that's the thing. Like, I won't take anything else from the other guys. Like, if they come out with something, that can top this, it's their show. They'll win. But with his track record at this point, it's very, very hard to see him losing at this point.
Yeah, I will say I do think there is one vulnerability that he has, and it's not condition. It's generally not size. I do think if he runs into somebody who has better structure
Yeah.
and maybe a little bit more mass in the lower half, those are probably like the weak spots in his armor. But like with that said, that's like I'm splitting hairs there because this guy is so good. And rightfully so. I mean, he's won so many classic physique shows. He's won some of the most prestigious ones in the world. New York, Pittsburgh, the Arnold Classic UK twice. The list goes on. So this guy is the favorite for a reason.
Oh yeah.
And Speaking of seasoned competitors, we have Jorge Herrera here out of Mexico, this year's RGV Pro Champion. He has finished top 12 in the world as recent as 2022, and this guy has improved so much even from last year. Like night and day difference. So we'll look at a comparison. This is the 2022 Olympia on the left where he placed 12th. This was the RGV Pro this year over Labor Day weekend. This guy has made leaps and bounds, man.
Oh yeah. Anytime you see somebody that's already Olympian improve that much, it's gonna make a ridiculous difference on stage when they're competing against other guys, especially at this level. At the what's it RGV at the RGV Classic. But one thing I'll say about Jorge is that he placed two places behind Michael. What was that in 2022? That last year he competed at the Olympia. So like he's right. He's been right on his heels. He's been right on his heels in terms of placing because at the Olympia level for Michael to get 10th and for him to get 12th, I do consider them pretty comparable in that aspect. Um, I think that Herrera's a little shorter, but he makes up for that in just ridiculous, overwhelming density. Just complete muscle belly, very, very full. And he also brings good conditioning. I think that if he can come in a bit tighter than this, he can give Michael a run for his money. I mean, once again, I do think that they're in a comparable category. And I think that they're probably the two that you can compare the most going into the show before we've seen anything else. Um, with that being said, yeah, like that's really the only thing that stands out to me. Like if he can come in a good bit tighter, he could give Michael a run for his money.
Yeah, spot on, man. Completely agree with you. Having seen Jorge at that show, the thing that stood out most to me was the density, like you highlighted. He has this level of fullness that is just insane, man. The fullness and the hardness in combination with great condition is really tough to beat. And that's what won him that show. He beat guys who had better shape than him. You could even argue that Tony Tavares was more complete than he was from
Yeah,
head to toe. But Jorge had this level of fullness and hardness that was unmatched at that show. It was lights out at that show. And that is an element to his physique. Having seen him and DeBull in person, I would say, slight edge to Jorge in terms of like the bursting fullness, but he's gonna have to bring the level of condition, like you said, to really challenge Michael DeBull. I think DeBull's condition is it's another level. It simply is.
it truly is, man. I mean, I think if Herrera wants to move up in general at the Olympia, that's kind of what he needs to do. So, I mean, I'm hoping for him and his team, this is at least a step in the right direction and bringing that ultra level of conditioning. Because we know that, the bull is going to take him having, I wish nothing bad on him. I want him to do his absolute best, but it's going to take bad luck for him to not be at his best. He'll take some bad luck.
Yeah, exactly. DeBull doesn't miss, and I do think Jorge's had plenty of time to really just keep dialing it in. This is the most recent update we got. This is from yesterday,
Yeah.
and I mean, he's peeled, dude.
Yeah, he's getting harder, which is it's really cool to see. And he doesn't appear to be losing any fullness either.
Yeah, dude, he's crazy full, man. Crazy. He's just like, but there's a pop to him that a lot of guys don't have, and that's what I like about him. So that is Jorge Herrera. Our next guy is Chris Miller, French Canadian, making his pro debut here. And this is one of the more impressive rookies I've seen pretty recently, man. This was at the Canadian National Pro Qualifier a year ago where he turned pro. And this guy is really, really good, man. Just looking at some of these shots, we got that little classic side try. It's a pretty solid shot. The back
I like,
double bicep is really good.
yeah, I think that and his side chest are probably the strongest shots that stand out to me. But I mean, it's funny to think that this wasn't even, like, I wouldn't say that this was his pro debut because of just how good he was. But it's not, this will be his pro debut. So to say that this was how he looked a year ago, I hope, and, I hope all he did was put on a little bit of size in the upper body. Um, I think a little bit more density in the back. because the back is good. It's really, really good here, but just basically filling out his cap or coming closer to his cap while maintaining the same conditioning could have him in a very, very favorable spot for his pro debut.
Yeah, because he doesn't lack any density whatsoever, man. This guy's dense as hell. The condition's good.
That's top tier.
Yeah, and we don't have a front double bicep here. I'm sure this guy has been working like hell to just put the size on. Here's a front double bicep.
Yeah, his biceps are freaking like they're full, man. They're very full.
I
His
mean,
legs.
this
I
kid.
mean, I don't want to say that his legs look narrow at this pose, but it does stand out a lot compared to his upper body in this one particular picture.
Yeah, I think it's how he's posing it too. I
Yeah,
think it really just the right leg is just out a little too far if I had to guess.
yeah.
But
If you got those adductors a little closer, excuse me, feet a little closer, hips are back. Yeah, yeah. Maybe just feet a little closer.
yeah, so that is Chris Miller out of Canada.
He'll do
Next up
very
is
well.
oh,
He'll do
absolutely, dude. Another pro debut. We got Anthony Narciso here. He is out of California, I believe. So Anthony,
very well.
yeah, dude, this is his pro debut as well. I think this is the most recent we've got. I think it's like locker room photos. Yeah, we'll just stick with this one. But he turned pro at USA's a couple years ago, and I was like, this guy looks really familiar. And I remember him turning pro in that show and just thinking he's really nice shape, man.
Yeah, he does, man. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I mean, he's got very bubbly muscle groups, like very, very bubbly quads that kind of stand out to you, especially even his back, especially in his front shots. I was going to say his quads really, really stand out because they have those deep cuts as well. Um, he's got, good lats, good fullness through the chest, through the shoulders, and everything. I think he'll do pretty well. This was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, this was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I think that, with that, in order to kind of show that density off, a little bit more tightness, a little more dryness would do him, well. But nonetheless, I mean, this kind of shape, this kind of muscularity and development should be rewarded as well.
Yeah, this guy might be a sleeper, dude. I'm really impressed. The more I look at him and the more he poses, I'm like, this kid's really freaking good, especially as a rookie.
I agree with that, but I'm just like, in order for him to stand out in this lineup, he's gonna have to be hard.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to be hard, and it's like I want him to do well because of how well developed he is. But I also think that he's gonna have to come in a bit harder in order to stand out in this lineup.
Yeah, because there's some dogs here, man.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Not
Man,
gonna miss.
I mean, he's got that kind of shape where it's like if he were to come in peeled, who knows, man? He could be in that top three, even top four. But it's all like for him, it's a matter of conditioning right now.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll see come show day because this was a couple weeks ago. Things change very rapidly. So
Let's see it.
that is Anthony Narciso making his pro debut, and a guy who definitely balled out in his pro debut last week at Titans Grand Prix. Andy Paredes took fourth place. He beat an Olympian. Oh, actually, he beat three guys who one guy is going to go to the Olympia for the first time this year, and two guys who've already been there. As a rookie in his pro debut, stood right up there in that final call out with DeBoule, Nate Joyner, and Brino. So this guy holds his own, man. Very fantastic physique. Jared, I don't know if you got a chance to look at him, but
Yeah, Andy, man, like I remember when he turned pro. Actually, him and we talked a little bit around that time, and I knew back then that he was going to be really, really good. And when he turned pro, I think we even had a conversation, like a brief one, where it was like, you're going to do a lot of damage, So it's really, really good to see that actually come into fruition. Andy's a hard worker, so I knew it was just a matter of time for him. I want to compare him, but I kind of like I like to compare him and Austin SB a little bit, man, because they came up around the same time. They're hard workers. They both do a really, really good job on all ends of the bodybuilding aspects of the social media and documenting their journeys. And it's also, they put it out in their physiques as well. They're not just the social media guys, but they do both, which I love to see. And I think encourages a lot of us to even step it up on our ends. But yeah, man, it's really good to see both of those guys do well in their rookie season. I think Andy's going to continue to do well and could potentially get another top five here.
yeah, I think Andy's definitely going to be in the mix here. He's definitely going up against a deeper
Just a big
line.
dog.
in that show. So, this will be another test, but I love that he's jumping right in, just going right for it, man.
And real
And
quick, if I have to give him a critique, because I'm being, keeping it with everybody. I think that Andy just needs to improve his density, throughout, and he'll continue to do well.
yeah, the back, particularly the back and the arms, I think. But he's one of those guys who, like, you can tell just works. He's earned that muscle for sure. So,
Sure has. But he's young too, young guy.
so that's Andy Paredes. Next up, we got Emmanuel Rigotti out of Italy, won the UK Pro earlier this year, back in April. So this is one of the few guys who's been to the Olympia here multiple times. He won the Puerto Rico Pro a couple years ago to go to I think it was the 2022 Olympia. Crazy shape, man. That's what he's known for. Jared, when we look at these updates from, I think these are from 6 days out, roughly. What do you see when you look at Emmanuel?
This has got to be some of his best conditioning. I've seen him a few times around. I've seen him win shows in the past. And I think that he's bringing a new level of fullness, a new level of conditioning I haven't seen before, seen him bring. So I think that he's going to do very well. I'm trying to think. If you go to a back shot, I think there was something I noticed when I was looking at his pictures a little early. Yeah. His lower body looks amazing. I think that maybe a little bit more density throughout his back, maybe even a little bit more width, will just match that lower body because of how dominant it is. But other than that, yeah, nothing really stands out to me too much in his physique.
Yeah, I will say this is just my preference, and a lot of posing coaches will tell you this is
He's
to
pushing us
not,
with that out.
yeah, not to do that. The only guy
Yeah.
who can get away with that is Wesley Vissers. That's it.
You know who else does it? Earth.
Oh, really? I see. I think Urs also can, like, it's not as pronounced because he hits down on his glutes and you can see the striations. The problem is, I know Emmanuel's glutes are striated right here, but you're not showing that. You need to show.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
absolutely must, because not everybody gets there, and the judges are gonna look at you, man. If your glutes are in, I don't care. People say it's not a glute show,
He's
but
going to get
if
a good look.
your glutes are in, you're gonna get looked at,
Yeah.
and I think that's only gonna help him here. Plus,
It would give more balance to his back, too.
yes,
Yeah, it would.
the density is the thing missing from the back, and if you have the glutes a little bit, you know, further away from the judges, it's going to make your back look a little bit bigger, because to
His,
me, I'm seeing more
yeah,
in the lower body than the upper body.
his butt's closer to the judges than the back, so the butt's going to look bigger than the back.
Yeah. But
Not a booty
nevertheless,
shot.
that's the only vulnerable shot for him. He's
Yeah,
great in the front double bicep, ab and thigh, side chest, favorite classic. The back double is I think that's the make or break pose for him. It always has been.
yeah,
Um, but there's some guys with some good backs here. So
yeah, yeah. That'll be good.
bodybuilding game. So our next competitor is Dominic Semenza. So these are from 3 weeks ago. So these are not super recent updates. He was 10th at Tampa Pro this year, and pretty solid physique all around, man. He was a Mr. USA a few years back in Classic Physique. Really solid overall structure. Jared, having seen him before, man, what do you think stands out about Dominic?
Yeah, man. I think, like you said, like his structure is really, really strong. Especially in his front double bicep. Everything flows well, which is good. It's one of those physiques where it's like I don't think that he's in danger of blowing out his shape. Like if he were to get a lot bigger, I don't think that would necessarily blow his shape out or anything like that. So it shows he has a lot of room for growth, which is good as well. Uh, Other than that, yeah, man. I mean, he looks pretty solid. I don't really see anything that particularly stands out to me. This was a few weeks ago, so looks like he was on a good track for coming in condition. I'd love to see more. Like I'd love to see like a back shot, like a side chest.
Yeah. Here's a back double. And this, granted, guys, this is like a month out from the show, so this is not going to be, show level condition yet, but it's a good shot for him.
I like it. I would like to see him change up his foot positioning a little bit in his back double bicep, just to give him a little bit better symmetry here. But other than that, yeah, it looks decent. Yeah, nothing really stands out to me. Everything looks balanced. Maybe a little bit more biceps if I'm being, if I'm looking for something specifically.
Yeah, because I think the biceps look good in the front shots. I think he just needs to throw his thumbs back a little bit more. That's really it.
So that, yeah, well, yeah, he does it at the end there.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
So
bad.
Dominic Semenza. Next up, we got Darren Sherbayev out of Kazakhstan. This guy's already qualified for the Olympia this year. He was third place at this show last year. Now, I will say the only two guys who beat him here last year were Terrence, who won the show, and Logan Franklin, who was second place. He did beat two other guys who were in this show this year. That would be Callan Wilson and Jorge Herrera. So those guys were top six, but Darren was third. So that is something to keep in mind. Not a whole lot of people have heard about this guy, but he is really, really good and not a guy you want to sleep on.
He's got like a really, really big structure right off the bat. And like, I think that type of structure has been rewarded a lot recently over other types of structures. You know, which nothing to take away from him as an athlete, but does he have any? Like, I was looking around, I didn't see that he had too many more recent pictures.
Yeah, I think he's kind of kept things pretty low key because he won that Kazakhstan Pro back in like 2023.
It's interesting, man, that he beat George and he beat Kellen because not seeing his physique recently, I would say that they both surpassed his physique last year for sure. And I don't mean to say that, like I said, nothing to take away from him, but just for what I've seen from them this year and what we've seen from him last year, I kind of see them almost a good note, noticeable bit better than.
Yeah, there were comparisons here from last year that I thought were really good. I'm trying to find them. Um,
And that's
some
taking nothing away from him because, like, I haven't even, began to talk about strengths, which there are many.
So if you look at, let's see, here we go. This is him in a front double right next to Jorge.
Jorge,
There's
yeah.
Jorge on the right. There's Darren there on the left.
But do you see what I'm saying about how much they've improved? In that,
I think those guys have improved a lot. It's tough because you have to make an assumption about Darren. You know for a fact that Kellen has improved tremendously, and so has Jorge.
Jorge. And Darren just turned pro, so it's not like he shouldn't be burnt out. He should still be able to grow pretty quickly too. It's hard,
There,
man. This is a hard one. I'll admit he does throw a kind of a wrench into things.
here's Darren's back double bicep. There's Jorge, and then there's Terrence there on the far left. That's a,
That's
that's a pretty nasty
that's a
shot.
shot. Oh my god, that's
Like I
massive.
said, he's better than a lot of people think.
Yeah, yeah, man. I feel like the structure is just so large that like standing by himself, it doesn't really do him too much justice. But when he stands next to other guys, you can just see like how imposing his structure really is.
Yeah, he's a sleeper here, in my
Oh,
opinion. I think he's.
yeah.
We'll get to the picks later, but just giving you guys my honest opinion. This is the dark horse. This is the guy that a lot of people aren't talking about, and I think he's really gonna come through and beat some good competitors for sure. So Darren Sherbayev out of Kazakhstan. Next up, we've got one of the guys with probably the most upside in all of Classic. This is Gerark Toribio Perez. You may know him as Yaiki. He's a Dominican guy based out of Seattle. Crazy, crazy shape, man. And one of the tallest guys in Classic. I want to say he's like 6'7" or something, dude.
Right.
He's a mountain of a man. So, Jared, I don't know if you've gotten the chance to see him before, man. When we look at him, what are some strengths?
I've never seen him in person, but I think I've previewed him before. We've done preview with multiple previews with him. And like one thing I can say about him is, he constantly improves, which is awesome. And he also, like you said, like you already mentioned, he's got like such a crazy, we call it the avatar structure. He's got like that crazy avatar structure where it's like when he's able to completely fill that frame out, he's going to be very, very, very tough to beat. And even now, with the amount of muscle that he's been able to put on, I think that he's starting to step into that category of very hard to beat. I mean, even his side, his side chest alone. You guys saw it just a second ago, like the way that his hamstrings, how complete he's getting for how tall he is. He's going to be very hard to beat, moving forward for anybody, especially, as he continues to dial in, as he continues to build up the muscle maturity. But I mean, when you see like, there's a saying like when you see like a tall guy that's built like a short guy, they're good. And he's starting to get those kind of dimensions. So oh my god, like he's gonna be good, man.
Yeah, and he's
uh,
really like every show he's gotten better with the condition too, and that was like
yeah,
the early
yeah.
critique when he turned
'Cause he did
pro.
well in New York this year as well.
Yeah, I can't remember what he placed, but yeah, he definitely did well and showed up. So yeah, I think he's a guy to keep your eye on. It's a tough lineup, so
Yeah,
I
like
don't
I
know
would
where
love
he
to see more
falls.
short, from his physique before I can say that he's going to be a definite top guy.
So that is Gerard Toribio Perez, and our last guy out of Canada, we got Kellen Wilson, this year's Vancouver champ. Finished second place in Chicago, right behind Carlos Domar, who was 11th place in the world last year. Now, Kellen was, I think he was fourth place at this show last year. So one placing behind Darren at this show. And Kellen's gotten so much better, even from last year. So, Jared, what makes Kellen stand out?
Kellen, right off the bat, he's very, very complete. He's also a taller guy. He's not super, super tall, but he's tall enough to kind of stand out amongst, those taller guys. Like he's over 5'10", I want to say. Or
I
he's
think
5'10".
well, I think he turned pro in Class B, so I want to say he's like 5'9", 5'10", right around there.
Yeah, right around that height, which I think is, I wouldn't say there's an ideal height in classic, but it's definitely it's a good height to be. And with that being said, he's added so much density to his physique. Because I remember last year seeing it in person when he went up against Courage, and it was like it was him and Courage, and then it was pretty much everybody else being compared. Um, and to see how much he's improved since then, to me, I think he's going to be very, very good. And I think that he's starting to reach that level where he can. I don't even know really where I'm going with it. Like he's always in that conversation with guys who are already Olympians. If that makes any sense. So he's starting to kind of pull away to, maybe a potential, he can place at the Olympia this year. I believe that. It's within his capability. So the sky's the limit for Kelly. Say it like that.
Completely agree with you, man. I've said it plenty of times on here. I think this guy is too underrated. There are a lot of people who are going to wake up this year, I think. And Kellen, I think he's just getting started, man. So that's our full classic physique lineup, guys. Now for the best part, Jared and I are going to make our top 5 predictions. Get ready, guys. Buckle in because this shit's about to get crazy. I'm prepared to get some hate for this one. So again, it's for fun. So if if your name isn't called in this, it's nothing personal. I very well could be wrong, and I in fact hope that people disprove me. I want to see our athletes do well, and at the end of the day, this is just for fun to promote bodybuilding. So, with that in mind, Jared as the guest, who is your 5th place pick?
And so, I definitely took a lot of thought and consideration into this pick. These guys are all very, very good, better than me. So, with that being said, I definitely want to, keep it as objective and as logical as I possibly can. With that being said, my number 5 guy is going to be Sherban, only because I just haven't seen enough Sherban up there, and I haven't seen enough from him this year to really, to definitively say that he's surpassed the people that I'll say that are going to be in front of him. But nonetheless, taking nothing else from him, I think that he's so good. But not seeing anything from the whole year, I still think he's going to be top 5. I think that kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, he's really good, man. And like I said, he's my dark horse. This is probably my good time to say he's my dark horse. I'm putting it on paper. Um, but I will also give you guys a little nugget. He's not my wildest pick in this whole lineup. So he's my dark horse and he's in my top 5, but you guys are about to see something crazy. 5th place, I got Emmanuel Rigotti out of Italy. Love the guy's structure. Very complete overall. Great flow to his physique. My only critique is the back. That's it. Back double bicep. I just think places 1 through 4 here that I've got ahead of him are going to beat him in the back double bicep. He's got some of the best structure in this entire show, but I think that's his one pose that just needs to come up. So I've got Emmanuel there in 5th place.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Fourth place. Yeah, this one wasn't very. Yeah, it gets harder and it gets harder, as you guys know. Fourth place wasn't easy for me, but I've seen enough from this person that I think that, like I said, I think that they can battle it out with some of the best in the Olympia. Some of the best, like the top 16, top 20 guys. I'm going with Kellen Wilson. I think that Kellen is just so complete from the front to back. His conditioning was actually really, really, really good in the prior shows we saw this year, and I think that he's going to continue to improve upon that conditioning while also bringing a complete physique that has enough muscle to stack up with these guys.
All right, so Kellen in fourth there for Jared. My fourth place pick is Jorge Herrera. So, having seen Jorge in person this year, he's got this level of fullness and hardness that is extremely impressive. I just think he's probably going to get beat by guys who have better shape. So, very complete overall. I would say that there's probably, in the front double bicep and back double bicep, that's probably where the door is left open. Just for some of these other guys who just might have smaller waists and bigger lats, bigger clavicles, so like wider clavicles up top. That's where I think the door kind of gets left open. They'll probably beat him in those shots, but Jorge's good enough, I think, to place as high as 2 in this show. I don't think he'll win this show. I think the odds are pretty low there, but I feel very confident about him being top 5 here. So I've got Jorge in fourth place.
Nice. In third place, I've actually got Abdullah Al Serafi. I think that Abdullah kind of just brings that prototypical classic physique look. But I don't want to say that I want to kind of clarify something real quick. I don't think the judges are going for a specific quote unquote look, but I think that some people with certain looks just happen to fulfill the criteria a little better than others. And I feel like this is one of those guys that do. He's got that tall, long frame. He's got balance from top to bottom. Um, I believe that in side chest it's more of a posing issue or posing mistake, more so than a lack of development in the hamstrings. But we also haven't seen his back, which is kind of a big question mark. And I think without seeing him improve that side chest pose, it's very hard to see him beating the guys that I have ahead of him.
All right, so Abdullah there in third for Jared. My third place pick is the dark horse, Darren Sherbayev. I think Darren's pretty good, man. I went back and I looked at the tape and I was like, you know the tape doesn't lie, dude. I look at these shots with Jorge and I'm just like, I can't get over how much width Darren has. And dude, and the thing is, he brings crazy fullness. I think he could probably bring even more fullness too, but the condition is arguably better than Jorge's. Now, granted, this was last year, so Jorge has improved, and if Darren has not improved at a similar rate, Jorge could beat him. However, I think just structurally he's too tough. So I'm gonna go with Darren in third place.
Okay. For second place, I'm actually going to go with Jorge Herrera. I think that Jorge Herrera, I think he's going to continue to improve his conditioning. Um, and I think that he's like, first off, like in and of itself, I do think that, he is the most muscular person in this lineup. And I think with the most muscle mass and with the right conditioning, that's going to be, rewarded. It's hard to say that, there's going to be a reason why the other guys beat him, why the other guy beats him in this case, but it's going to be based off of just pure freak factor, in my opinion, that kind of thing. But with that being said, I think that without the other guy who I have beating him, just because in this lineup, he just stands out the most from everybody else.
Yeah, so Jorge there in second for Jared. All right, guys. So this is where shit gets crazy. Prepare yourselves. I got Michael DeBull in second place.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
the overwhelming favorite in this show. I think he's great, and just the way things stand. I'm a guy who goes by probabilities. I'm a math guy, and just speaking from probabilities, I think he has the highest probability to win this show, given his track record. He's one of the best guys in Classic Physique, without question. Top 6 at the Olympia last year. I do think he's going to run into somebody at this show who exposes his weaknesses, though. Bodybuilding is a matchup game, and I think he's going to get beat by a guy who has similar condition. He's probably not going to be as conditioned as Michael, but I think it comes down to shape as well as the size in the quads in particular. The guy I have beating him is just going to beat him in those regards. Michael very well could win this show, and I very well could be wrong. But I do think this is a matchup problem. So I've got Michael in second place here.
Man, you got me so excited because Michael's going to be my first place pick. Kind of, just like what we talked about before, like Michael just kind of stands out. In my opinion, the most besides Jorge in this lineup because of his conditioning, and because of his structure, different things like that. But with that being said, man, I want to hear who your first is.
All right, man. So Kellen Wilson's my pick to win. And I think way too many people are sleeping on him, man. I just think that what he has this year is better than a lot of what people are thinking. Like, I look at these shots, man, and there's no holes in this physique, man. He's complete. Everything flows super good. I've had some people try to argue that he's like bottom heavy, but I don't see that whatsoever, man. Like the thing about
like there's no gaps in his physique. There's literally none. Like his lats are, I mean, he's holding his arms up a little bit higher here, but if his arms were a little bit lower, like his lats would be pushing against his triceps. His adductors are pushing against each other in every shot. When he pulls his back together, like everything is, there's no gaps. Like there's literally no gaps. Like when he hits his front single, like even the gap that you see right here with me between that arm, like it's just not there. Like there's no gaps.
And that's the thing, man. I think he's just really, really complete. And to me, there's just better flow and overall. He's got a better
shape for sure.
Yeah, he beats DeBoule in the structure department. And also the one critique that I've heard from everybody from, just even years past and still I think it holds up is DeBoule's quads are just not quite as, like, when we look at things from an upper lower symmetry perspective in bodybuilding, if you were to reflect over the waistline, your lats and your quads should roughly line up. I do think his quads need to be just a touch bigger to match the lats up top. But I think Kellen's he's got some of the best quads in all of Classic Physique. Like,
very low.
And I think he's just a matchup nightmare.
It's like a schemer, man. It's a schemers.
I think this is the perfect storm for an upset, man. And we've seen it at Legion too. In I think it was last year where Chiron beat Banks?
Yeah.
We've seen it at Legion before, man. So I know I'm not crazy. We've seen crazy things happen at this show before.
Like all the upsets, I think that have happened this year, this is more like this is a more realistic one going into the show that you could expect. I would say that. Because Kellen, like you say, he's just so complete, and we've only seen him get better. I mean, the show that he won Vancouver, he wasn't even at his best yet this year. When he did Chicago, I mean, that's Carlos. Like, it was a very, very hard guy to beat. Carlos, I think, could be easily a top 10 guy again this year, maybe even top 8, top 7, who knows. So even though I made my predictions, I'm gonna stand by them. I'm gonna say it like this: like, I would not be surprised whatsoever if Kellen were able to pull it off. I would not be surprised. It would make me happy to see it for him, and yeah, it'd be either way. I'd be happy. Whether I write my predictions or if he wins, I'd be happy.
Yeah, exactly, man. And this is all just for fun anyways, so we're just trying to drum up some excitement, some hype for the show. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be a really good show regardless of how this one turns out. So those are our picks, guys. It's going to be a hell of a show. Make sure you guys tune in on Center Podium this weekend. September 28th, which is Saturday. And before we get out of here, another big shout out to my good friend Jared Keys for taking the time out of his day to join the show, just talk some bodybuilding. But before we get out of here, make sure you guys follow Jared. First thing, follow him on Instagram.
And I missed a shout out earlier too. I'm wearing the t-shirt, so I feel real bad. Shout out to Victory Speaks. Jacob with Victory Speaks. I really, really love the t-shirts that they make, guys. They're inspirational things that talk about success and dealing with different adversities and kind of just have like a hard work mentality. So I'm sorry, bro. I had to make sure I shout them out too.
You're good, bro. I was about to give you the floor anyways. Make sure you guys follow Jared here. It's Jared Keys Bodybuilding. I'm going to put his YouTube in the description too. Make sure you subscribe to his channel as well. And Jared, the floor is yours, my friend. What's going on in your life? Any shout outs you want to give to your people out there?
Thank you. Yeah. Shout out to all my sponsors who I mentioned. I appreciate that, man. And life is good, man. Life is good. Kind of figuring out this whole off season thing and what's next for me. What direction I'm gonna go with this whole bodybuilding thing. I'm not done yet. So for everybody who had questions or was wondering if I'm done competing, I'm not done competing. That's not the question yet. It's just a question of what division I fit the best in and what it's gonna take to continue to level up. So I appreciate you guys for rocking with me, man. Glad to be back on here.
Yeah, always a pleasure, man. It's always great having you on. And guys, like I said, make sure you guys run it up on Jared's socials, follow him on Instagram, and also subscribe to his YouTube channel. Subscribe to my channel as well. Like, comment, and share this video with your friends. And that's going to do it for the video today, guys. I'm Brant, and that's Jared. Make sure you guys keep it classic.
Peace.
We'll see you later.